Welcome, everybody, to the Content Lab podcast. We're switching it up today. We've got the usual host of the Content Lab podcast, Carlos Bown, in the hot seat. And I'm Alex Roca. We have got Justin Tamani, and we are ready to go. I'm excited for this, mostly because I like to throw left hooks at Carlos. But Carlos, thank you for doing this collab. This episode will also be an episode for the Creators Podcast. So a little bit of a dual podcast, and we're super excited.
No, thank you guys for having me. It's fun to be on the other side.
Finally. You're welcome for us having you on your own show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, having me on your own show and also hosting this one.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So I want to kick things off. A lot of people who watch probably know a lot about you and your background, but for those who don't, tell us a little bit about your early life. I know that you are a Venezuelan native, so talk to us a little bit about that. I'd be curious to know you as a little Carlos.
Yeah, so I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, which is the capital of Venezuela. For those who don't know, Venezuela is on the top of South America. Actually, it's pretty close to Miami. If you take a flight straight from the city I'm from to Miami, it's about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So it's not too far. That's usually where we used to vacation when I was little. But yeah, just normal life growing up. Nothing really super interesting. Definitely always playing sports. I used to play a lot of soccer, tennis, and golf growing up until I was like 13, 12. My dad sat down. He's like, listen, you need to pick a sport because you're kind of like okay at all of them. Like you need to pick one if you want to be good at one. So I started thinking, I'm like, okay, I think I like tennis the most, but I'm much better at golf. I used to win golf tournaments a lot. So I was like, I need to pick one. I'm like, I'm going to pick the one that I'm, probably going to take me the first. So I picked golf, and that's what I did pretty much, dude, since I was 12 years old, just literally just dedicated my life to play golf and get better. By the time I was 15, I was in the Venezuelan national team. I traveled to, many countries in South America. It was fun. And then my goal was always to, get a golf scholarship and play NCAA golf. So when I finished high school, when I was 17, I moved to Florida, Orlando, just to play tournaments for the whole year, just to, took a year off school, just play tournaments and got a couple of scholarships. I got one in Memphis University and University of West Florida, which is the one I decided to go. And yeah, that's in Pensacola, Florida. And then after that, I, spent 4 years in UWF playing golf. After that, I just got my undergrad in business management and then my master's in business. And then bring us back to, that's 2018. So yeah.
Wow. That's interesting because at no point in that story did we hear anything about cameras, content. So what happened there? When did that become a part of your life? When did you pick up a camera or become interested in this?
Well, first of all, it's, the movement doctor says, go Argus. That's UWF like thing. So yeah, go Argus. Yeah, well, I was always super like creative. I was always into type of like, creating stuff growing up. Obviously, as I said, like my life was mostly just focusing on sports. That's what I wanted to. I wanted to play sports. I wanted to be a professional golfer. It didn't work out. But always definitely more on the creative side of things. I remember in like college, every time we had to like a project that had something to do with like video editing or something, I'll be the one that'll be like, hey, listen, I'm going to be the one, editing this video. I'll play around with like GoPros and stuff, taking photos, but nothing really to the point of being like, oh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. It's just kind of like a hobby.
Yeah.
But yeah, around 2018, actually, the movement doctor comes into this story. We'll talk about him a little bit, but 2018, I think it was, or maybe 17, I started doing some social media management because while I was getting my master's, I was also a teacher assistant for the marketing department in social media management and digital marketing. So I really got involved into like all the social media management stuff, the back end, how to like use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all this stuff. And And I started working with some businesses around town, just kind of like helping with social media. And one was the Movement Doctor, which is it's a physical therapy clinic in Pensacola. And I was doing some kind of, some type of photography every once in a while. But at one point I was like, what's gonna separate me from the competition? There's some people that do the same thing, like they know how to manage social media. But if I get really good at photography and videography, I can provide a service that is just included already. So I was really into CrossFit, and that's how it got started. Just kind of like going to the gym and taking some photos at the gym and helping the gym with social media management. And yeah, from there, kind of like everything snowballed. But yeah, I think that was around 2017 while I was still doing my master's.
Have you ever shot a hole in one? I just have to.
I have one, yeah.
One? Okay,
Yeah,
curious. One more than me. So.
It's kind of random, but I completely stopped playing golf. Like I don't really play that much. It's kind of like a bittersweet relationship with golf. And now you're talking about hole in one. I had a dream last night that I made a hole in one. Super random. I don't dream about golf anymore. Like that's over. I used to have nightmares.
It's calling you home.
Nightmares with golf.
I was gonna say, because I went through the Instagram and did a little deep dive, and there's not one golf picture on it at all, or video.
Well,
or anything.
if you go to my personal, there's some, yeah.
Okay.
You go really. I mean, I'm telling you, that was my life until 2016. Yeah, just pretty much all golf.
That's wild.
Do you still have like nightmares about like putting?
Dude, not anymore, but it's real. I don't know if you've watched this movie. Forgot. I think it's just called Bobby Jones. It's kind of like just his history of like, as a golfer, and he's the best amateur of all times. Like he won every tournament as an amateur, and in one of the parts he's like having the nightmares that every golfer has, and it's so true, dude. Like literally, you have like a putt like this to win the Masters, and he's like trying to like hit it, and the ball is like not moving. But yeah, I will have gnarly nightmares about just being on the first tee and they call my name. They're like, okay, from the University of West Florida, Carlos Bown, and then I'll put my tee, and then I wouldn't be able to swing the ball. It's like I do the takeaway, and then it's like, oh, it feels uncomfortable, and it'll be like that for 8 hours.
Oh gosh,
absolutely nightmares.
You need to do one of your super cool, awesome videos, but of like a round of golf.
Yeah, I thought about it. One of my teammates is now playing on the second stage to get to the PGA Tour, which is called the what's it called now? I think it's called it used to be called the web.com. Gosh, I'm so out of it. CJ, you know about a golf. What's the
I know what you're talking about.
Plays. Well, anyways, he plays on that tour now. One of my good friends from college, and Corn Ferry, there you go. Corn Ferry Tour.
Yep.
Every time I see him, I'm like, dude, let's try to make a cool like hype video of you like swinging and like kind of like cinematic, but like fun.
Man, there's so much of that right now. Like on YouTube, there's a bunch of big golf channels that are all popping off.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff I've been following a guy from that does videos with the F1 cars. Like he travels around, and dude, it's really cool.
So okay, let's go back to those videos. Your video work right now, you're just killing it.
Dude, yeah,
the stuff coming out of Granite, the stuff you did for was it Linn Bailey?
Yeah, dude, no, I appreciate it.
Stuff so good.
Funny story. Video was my first love when it comes to content creation. That's kind of like what I really wanted to do. The way that I transitioned more into photography was just pretty much just getting more clients that wanted photography and video. But when I was really getting started, that's kind of like my first passion, just kind of like content creation, especially like focusing more on like video production.
So like when you're putting these videos together, I'm always curious because especially when we're at like events, I think it's a little different when you're not an event and you're not under kind of the confines of time and turning stuff around. But do you find yourself like, and I guess I know a little bit about this, being up till 3-4 in the morning, pumping out something? Like, do you have a vision in your head of what you're going for? Like, what's your what's your process like? Because when you drop these videos, I'm like, that would have taken me 6 months
Yeah.
just to do the sound design.
Yeah, usually, well, for Granite it was a little different because we started around like 3 p.m. shooting, right? And I think the last workouts until like 9:30 p.m. So it kind of like messes up your whole sleeping schedule. But yeah, that was my assignment. They wanted a hype video after every day. So by the time that the social media manager wakes up, they have the video ready. So yeah, I already knew I was gonna be up until 3, 4 a.m. But usually, I always say that I'm gonna try to pick the songs that I want to use, because that takes me like an hour by itself, just trying to find the right song. So I always say like in advance I'm gonna pick the song, but it just kind of like it doesn't work that way for me, because it's more kind of like I'm more of like a feelings person, like depending on like what the vibe was that day, or like what kind of like beat I want to use. So it's depending on like what I'm feeling at that time. So
Where do you
yeah.
get your music from?
Oh, dude, I use all of the literally. I have all of
everything?
them: Soundstripe, MusicBed.
Okay. I
but
have Soundstripe, but I'm the same way, where I will spend hours looking for
yeah,
music and then not have done a single anything else on the video. And I didn't know if that was a me problem or if it's like a we problem.
no, it's definitely that, dude. I'm saying once I find the right song, it's just kind of like everything just flows so well.
Yeah.
But I can spend a full hour just looking for a right song.
Man, it takes so long, especially looking for royalty-free music.
Hmm.
So we had
Yeah.
one question here. What's the hardest part of creating a banger video?
Well, no, that's actually a really good question, because I feel like you whenever you make stuff, you also you need to focus on the audience, right? Like it's something that you like, but at the same time it's something that's going to be appealing for the audience and also for the client, right? Like for example, at Granny, I was shooting for Tier, and one of the things that they wanted to really get out there is like their sunglasses, like the now they're getting like new shoes that they're gonna get released. But at the same time, you want to create type of like a story, and it's only at like a 20 to 30, maybe a little longer video. So I think that's the hardest part, just kind of like telling a story in just a 30-second video that's gonna be mostly a hype video. So you gotta keep it hype, like you know, fast fast paced video throughout, but at the same time you wanna tell the audience, hey, this is what happened this day, and these athletes are doing this or that. So I think that's the hardest part for me. It's just kind of like trying to get the audience to feel what I'm feeling at the moment.
Yeah, I'd like that you bring that up, feel, because that's what I was thinking about. When I watch your videos, there's an emotion drawn out of me, whether it's like goosebumps or feeling like that I was standing, right there, I'm in the action. And I think that that's not, I would say, the norm. There's a lot of video content out there, and I do the same thing that I'm about to be critical of. So whatever, call me a hypocrite, but I put out stuff that's just short clips. It doesn't really draw out emotion, but it's cool. Maybe it's cool. The movement is cool. The slow motion is cool. Those types of things. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that content. I just think what separates and stratifies what you do and what a few select others do is you draw out that emotional, like, connection to the content on a deeper level. And that's through, the sound design and the edits, and you can walk away from watching your video and being like, ooh, like that was like, I got little goosebumps from watching it. So I think you've done a really nice job doing that. And I think for a lot of us, it's great because we can look at the content that you're doing and we have something to like aspire to. Like, I just texted you the other day, I did like my first masking transition in Adobe Premiere, and I thought I was on top of the world. That's something that is second nature to you and others. So, but it's exciting because we see it's like it helps us push ourselves when we're not quite there yet. So I just wanted to at least point that out to say that I'm happy you brought up the feel, because that's what I think drives a lot of us, is how content makes us feel.
Dude, that really means a lot. I've been working hard on trying to, obviously every aspect of content creation, but definitely focusing more on the audience than on myself, because at the end of the day, that's what you wanna make the audience feel something. But dude, I'm kind of glad. I'm super glad that you mentioned the sound effects and all that, because that's something that I really focus on when it comes to um, video production, like content creation. When it comes to video, I remember one of my friends, Ariel Martinez. He's a really good filmmaker. He told me, dude, you can have the best camera, you can have awesome footage, you can even have good lighting, because some people say the lighting is the most important.
Mm-hmm.
But if your audio is not where it's gonna be, like where it's supposed to be, the audience is not gonna feel it.
Yeah.
Like you have to, your sound effects, your sound design, the voiceover, like the crispness of like people talking, that's what's gonna like get the people like involved. Like that's gonna attract people. It's gonna be like, oh my god, like there was an announcer saying like Amanda Barnhart, like and some people screaming, "Let's go!" And then obviously some most of those sounds are fake, kind of like when somebody's grabbing the rope, and it's something like so subtle in the back of the video that whenever you're watching it, you might not even notice, but it's on the people's mind. Like whenever they watch it, it's kind of like on the subconscious, like, oh my god, like they're going down the rope, and it sounded like,
Yeah.
You ever watch a Disney movie recently and just think about the sound design in it?
Dude, now it's all the
It's-
time. I was watching Stranger Things, which
Yes.
purposely they make everything very like everything's like super over the top.
Yeah.
So somebody gets an arm chopped, and it sounds like like an explosion with blood. And
Yeah.
but it's super interesting how the way I look at movie, like when I'm watching movies or shows, I'm mostly focusing now on like what's the camera guy doing, what's the sound and all
Exactly.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to just watch
No,
anything
you
now.
can't watch anything.
Mhm.
Yeah. And not watch it through the lens of like, how did they do this? I wonder what they used. How did they light this? The sound, like I can't, it's almost, it's not ruined it. It's giving me a new
Yeah.
appreciation
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
movies and film.
and
The
And you're
F1
mention-
show does that for me.
Mm.
Just the angles they use and the lighting and
know.
the color, like especially during the interview scenes.
yeah, for sure. And Alex, you were mentioning like it's helped with inspiration to like you guys, but in reality, like we all get inspired from each other. Like it's not like
Yeah.
I started making sound designs and like this transitions because of I just like came with it. Like everything I remember like during the lockdown, I will watch like countless videos of like Daniel Schiffer just working
Yeah.
on like his sound design and like his transitions, stuff like that. And I mean, even the CrossFit world now, you see a lot of people doing pretty cool stuff. So it's just kind of like, I'm glad that I could be an inspiration for some people, but in reality, like I've gotten inspiration from a lot of like other creators,
Yeah.
So it's cool, like how we all kind of like, it's like a circle, right? Like we all inspire each other and then we pass it back around.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot recently. I think that like the people who are coming up, especially in CrossFit right now, are all just kind of like feeding each other and everybody's getting
Mhm.
better. It's
Yeah,
kind of
for
cool
sure.
to see.
Yeah, it definitely is. Which, by the way, this is a tangent, but I feel like some of the most popular creators are like they're all Canadian. Is that right,
know,
Justin?
right?
Like
Yeah,
YouTube
okay, so
creators.
check
You
this
got
out.
Peter McKinnon, like
Yeah.
Daniel, Maddie.
So Daniel, Maddie, Peter McKinnon. So Daniel Schaefer, Peter McKinnon, Maddie Hapoya, Mark Bone, all live within like 45 minutes of each other. Oh, and
No.
Jesse, I can't think of his last name right now.
I think I know who you're talking
Alex,
about.
let's move over there.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Start
yeah.
a YouTube channel.
So they're all like within 45 minutes of each other, and it's crazy. The I don't know what it is, but there's something about like Toronto and the GTA. There's a huge density of really popular YouTubers.
I think it's also
Knoopsie's here.
the scenery that you find, because they do a lot of like traveling stuff and
Yeah.
take the drone out. It's really cool. Like if I take my drone out in Pensacola, it's gonna be a cool beach. That's about it.
Yeah,
But,
that's true.
There's more stuff over there, and I don't know. Maybe they help each other.
Jesse
Oh.
Driftwood. Jesse Driftwood. Thank
Jesse
you.
Driftwood. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All these guys are right in here, like big, like YouTube filmmakers, essentially.
Yeah.
Is that where you're
Cool
from?
to see.
Are you from Toronto?
Yeah. So I'm right from there. Actually, I grew up, one of my best friends worked at Best Buy with Peter McKinnon when they were like in
Wow.
high school.
Have you
That's
seen
cool.
them like walking around and stuff?
I've never seen them walking around, but I know, especially Maddie's office, I know exactly where that is. And like, that's like a main strip where there's a bunch of restaurants and things like that. Like I've been there a bunch.
That's
Dope.
crazy.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a good question here. I'm gonna pop this up. How do you deal with burnout? You said you all push some
Dude,
serious content.
That's a really good question, because I feel like all of us, or at least me, I know, I mean, I deal with it a lot. It's like flirting with burnout all the time, and I think that sometimes I do like feel completely burnout. But it's kind of like it's a part of it, you know. It's a part of what we do, and I feel like nobody that's I mean, think about it in sports too. Like the best golfers or the best tennis players, they all you know flirt with complete burnout, and some of them do. It's just a part of like the what you what you choose to do, you know, like you just have to deal with it. But for me, usually when I burn out, it's whenever I do a lot of repetitive stuff. I'm pretty busy during the week, and it's a lot of editing. So for me, that's kind of like what burns me out the most, is just kind of like just repetitive editing of like similar stuff, and just kind of like making a routine instead of something that I enjoy doing. You know, like Renato brought something that really got me thinking the other day. He said, I miss when I used to get paid 50 to $100 for an hour shoot, because it was like fun. You know, it was like I didn't really care about the money. It was just something I really wanted to do. And my friend would be like, you know, here's $50. You'll be like stoked, like, oh, cool. You know, $50, instead of thinking it like, you know, my rates are now $450 an hour, and just kind of like thinking about the money instead of like what you want to create and like what you want to do, right? So for me, it's that, just kind of like when it's a routine, when it's more of a job, that's when I flirt with burnout. And sometimes what I try to do is I take a couple of days off, and I just try to focus on just creating stuff that I love doing. You know, it can be just going to my gym and taking some photos of like friends. It can be just grabbing all footage from previous shoots and just creating a cool video. Like I'm spending a lot of time on it, but it's something that really like I'm passionate about. You know, it's just kind of like just sitting there and start creating stuff from scratch, um and yeah, and just kind of like trying to think, like trying to look back at what made me so passionate about content creation. Don't worry about like the money and all that. Just kind of like, okay, this is the stuff that really attract me to be a creator, right? So I'm gonna go back and try to do that. And that's kind of how, like, what helps me a lot when I'm kind of like feeling burnout.
I'm gonna second you on that one. I think I'm in the same boat with that, where like if I'm feeling burnt out, especially with like a lot of editing and things like that, the stuff I get most motivated to do is the stuff that excites me, that is a little bit different, or just like a new project that gets me excited again. That's what kind of gets me out of it.
Yeah.
Is like, you know, if I have like some idea, or like I watch some video, I'm like you're saying, like masking transitions, Alex. Like, so when I was learning masking and like learning some of those transitions, I would just like edit nothing, like stuff that nobody would ever see.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, okay, this works like this, and this is how this tool works, and that, and like that gets me excited again to do the next thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And there's some of the guests that I've had on the podcast that have mentioned that this is a very, very lonely job, and it's true. I think Michael Dalton and somebody, I think JT mentioned it. It just it's we're lonely most of the time. Like, you know, I go shoot, and then I spend the rest of the day editing by myself, and then, you know, most of the nights I'm just editing by myself, and nobody's looking at the stuff that you're doing. It's kind of like, you know, I mean, for me, it kind of works because I enjoy like working with just by myself, like nobody watching, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like sometimes it's like you don't get that. I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, I mean, pretty much just so lonely most of the time. So it's kind of like it's easy to burn out when you're busy, stressed out, lonely, and you feel like you're doing everything in a routine type of deal.
I think what compounds that sometimes for me is when you spend all of that time alone, editing hours, whether it's at an event or just, you know, as part of a project for somebody, and you deliver it and they like it, but then it just it goes away.
The
right?
next
Like
thing.
they're like, thank you, this is awesome, good work, bye. You get paid, you move on. And I'm not saying that we all need to survive off of everybody just like, yay, you're so great, and giving us, commendations for hours and stuff. But it is difficult because there's so much that goes into it. There's so many hours in hotel lobbies and hotel rooms and traveling and airports and all this stuff just to get, like you said, 25-second reel, which is awesome. And then it's just kind of like, eh. And I think for me, sometimes mentally, that's where the burnout's like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was good. Like Alex and I stayed together at the Mac, and it was good to be able to edit and just be like, yo, what do you think of this? Bounce it off of each other.
Yeah.
And I think like that was like the best environment. Oh, actually, I've stayed with Dave training day, David Sue, a few times. So it's easy to bounce it off each other, and it makes it like a little bit more cohesive or makes it a little bit more have better flow, I guess, through those long weekends when you have somebody to show it to, that you're not just like straight up delivering it to a client and just being like, do you like it?
Yeah.
No, that's true. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why I enjoy the whole CrossFit content creation industry so much. It's mostly because of that. Like you have people that are very like-minded and they do stuff that you do. So like Alex and Justin, like you guys understand when I'm stressed out. I understand whenever you guys are like, like really looking forward an event. It's just kind of like we understand each other, right? Like when I travel to a wedding, it's just I'm gonna be the only photographer at the whole wedding, and it's just gonna be me. But if I go to, like, for example, we went to Grande Games, the meeting room had 20 people. We were all just like, sharing our stuff. Like I'm showing somebody something. It's just kind of like, it's super cool to be around that environment. And I feel like that's why I enjoy it so much. I like the sport a lot, but I really enjoy, meeting new creators and also, hanging out with all of you guys.
Yeah. And can I just say, we've got some like heat in the comment section here. Some outstanding creators are just dropping a lot of comments, and I hope they can hear this. But I'm like looking at the names here. I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah. Carlos, one thing I've asked some of our guests is, and I always go back to like our first episode we did with David, and I'm always curious to know different creators' perspectives on the content that they post. So what that means is, I think oftentimes I'm so concerned with what my audience or what other people think of the content. And I'm not saying that that's not important. Obviously that's part of the reason we do it. But David had some good advice, and he's like, if you like a piece of content, it's on your feed and you're happy with it, post it. Don't let yourself become, kind of paralysis by analysis type of thing, where you don't let something go because you like it, but you're not sure if, your followers will like it or things like that. So I'm curious how you kind of, where you live on that spectrum when you're making that decision. And I think it's important that we as creators don't lose sight of enjoying what we do and liking the work that we put out and making that kind of almost first and foremost, as opposed to just kind of being at the will of this endless vast world of social media per se.
Yeah, no, that's a good topic to touch on, because it's something it's hard to do to like to know what you're going to be posting. But definitely lately I've been trying to work a lot on just posting stuff that I in reality, like, you shouldn't care about the audience that much when it comes to your own like portfolio per se, like your own Instagram, right? Like if it's something that you're proud of, like you're like, damn, I spent a lot of time doing this and I like it, you should post it. Same thing with like posting. Like the other day you asked me, should I post photos of myself on my Instagram? I'm like, yeah, if you want to, I think you should, and if you want to write a caption just being kind of like vulnerable and like saying like, I've had a couple of rough weeks and I'm feeling like, like I lost some creativity, like I think you should, because it's what you're thinking at the moment. It's what you want to express, So I was talking earlier about like, I really care about what the audience think about like the videos I make, right? But that's whenever you're working for a specific, like, for example, like tier, and I want them to like feel, the whole like experience. But when it comes to like posting your own Instagram, I just think you just gotta post whatever you're proud of, whatever you're happy, and whatever makes you happy, like whatever makes you like proud of all the work that you've done, and be like, this is me. You shouldn't be like thinking, oh, if I post this angle, I'm gonna definitely get, you know, a couple more likes and more followers. Because in reality, it doesn't really matter. It's not that important.
Yeah.
Alex doesn't need the good light. He can hit that light at any angle. He'll still look good.
Oh yeah.
Just like Carlos's hair. Carlos's hair doesn't matter the angle. Always looks good.
Oh boy. You
Hey, wait.
mentioned go what's up?
Wait. I got to show these because this is the different thing. This is what I wanted to show for on Carlos's profile here. He did the Angels and Airwaves tour shoot. Dude, I love these photos. And I told you this a few months ago. I'd love these photos. And this is so different than, let's see if I can make it bigger. Hold on. Oh, wrong way. Missing the sweet spot on it. There we go. But these Angels and Airwaves photos are real tight. And I really like these. But they're completely different than everything else on your page.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to me knowing this is gonna get not that many likes, but I'm so proud of that. And it's something I really wanted to do my entire life, just kind of like photographing that guy right there, Tom DeLong.
Okay, this photo.
Which, yeah. So I was really proud of those photos. I think I've posted like three different posts of like the whole like carousel. It's just something I'm really proud of. Like I thought they came out cool. It was like my first experience in like concert, like live music type of deal. And I mean, I like them a lot. I think it's something that, sorry, I'm like talking and looking at the photos. Yeah, it's something that I wanted to for a while. And when it happened, I was like, dude, this is dope. But yeah, I mean, it got 131 likes, which is, it's usually, you know, if you post a picture of a games athlete, like Haley Adams, you're gonna get a couple thousand. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like I love those photos.
Yeah, those are really, I like those photos a lot too. Yeah. Those are sweet. Definitely different. I remember when I used to get like, I don't know, like 50 likes back in the day. I was like, 50 was a big number. And then I'd get 100, and like 100 was a number. Mm-hmm. And that kind of segues me into my next question, which is, you know, whether it's likes, followers, and don't get me wrong, having a following and seeing a big number on your Instagram is gratifying. Like, I'm not going to put it out there and be like, I don't care about not having any followers. Something I think I've realized, especially now since Justin's popped off and is like 100,000 followers, and not even worthy of being in the same room, but is that there will always be somebody who has more. And this isn't just about content creation, but there'll be somebody who's getting more likes, somebody who's getting paid more, somebody who has more followers. Like, that's my perspective on it. So while it's okay to be ambitious and chase, you know, the following and the engagement, and that's all great, I think there needs to be a balance between not making that the sole desire of doing what we do. And so I'm curious what your perspective is on likes and followers and what it means and doesn't mean, and how you kind of, because I go back and forth from like, oh, I don't have a following, and how does this person have this following, or I should have more, or I have no idea why I have this following, or this person should have more. And I feel like I kind of think about that once or twice a day, if not more. And I don't like being consumed by it. So I'm curious how it plays in your head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, pretty similar to you. It's cool to see your followers going up and people like, you know, liking your photos a lot. And I find myself sometimes like consuming that too. I remember like when I was getting close to 10,000 followers, I was like posting a lot because I knew like that was gonna like get me to 10,000 followers. And then after I hit 10,000 followers, I'm like, I mean, it's cool, but in reality, like, I don't know, it's like, what type of audience do I want to have on my Instagram? And I've realized that the type of audience I really want to like attract is people like you guys, like, or content creators, or like people that look up to like some of the stuff I do. It can be, I don't know, it can be the way I color my videos, or like the way I frame my photos. And whenever somebody sends me a DM, it's like, dude, I enjoy your work. I think I've learned from like looking at your stuff, is that's kind of what's more the most gratifying thing for me. that just gives me a like a sense of like, oh shit, like what I'm doing right now, it's fucking cool, you know, like people are like telling me, hey, I like your stuff and I've learned from your stuff. Same thing with the podcast. I'm sure you guys get it too. Like you guys, some people sending messages to you guys like, dude, thank you so much for doing the creators podcast. Like I listened to, I don't know, Torin, and what he said, it really like helped me, you know, understand some factors of content creation. And when people send me stuff like that, dude, it's just so gratifying. It's like, it really makes you think like, that's my purpose in on social media. Like it's cool that's, you know, some random people follow me and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, like I can have 100 people from different countries that are liking my stuff just because they like the athlete. I would rather have 5 people that watch my videos and they tell me, hey, this stuff inspired me.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the way I see it. But I mean, at the same time, it's tough because I mean, you see people with a lot more followers and you're like, damn, am I doing something wrong? You know, like why do I don't have that many followers? But at the same time, it's like, is that your goal? Do you want to have 300,000 followers, or you
Yes.
want to do this? So it's kind of
See, I'm agreeing with Carlos here. Like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna deny that. Like, yeah, my account blew up in the last like 2 months.
Yeah.
But 95% of those people, I'm guessing, think I'm either Danielle Brandon, Kyra, or one of the other people that I've posted that are on like my videos.
Yeah.
That they think, oh, that's this person's account. Like I even just by the comment section, this is not a collaborative post. This is my post. And it's like a comment about the person in it in a very suggestive way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you didn't even look. You're just dropping comments on anything here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like, I agree with Carlos. Like, yeah, my account could have 5,000 followers. It could have 100,000 followers. Like, I'd rather have people like you guys both, you know, even people dropping comments now, like showing love for those posts, because I know that you guys know what you're looking for. You know what you're looking at. And if something inspires you, or if something you see is dope and you really like it, like that's way better to me. And it sucks because I know there's great creators out there that don't have a following like they should.
Yeah.
And it's maybe just because the algorithm didn't take off for them, because what I posted was very algorithm friendly, but what Carlos posted might not have been. And what should have got 1 million views got 10,000, and what should have gotten 5 views got 2 million.
Yeah.
You know, like I intentionally posted a post, and I'm not going to say which one it is, going like, I don't think this is that good, but here's my theory and I'm going to try it. And that video is like over 2 million views. And I was like, not even going to post it. And I deleted it like 3 times when I went to post it, because I was like, nah, this is just clickbait. Let's see what happens. But it proves 2 things. It proves the algorithm is there in that way. But for companies, and this is where I'm like struggling right now, is for companies who are looking for growing their social media following, growing their awareness, for brands, being able to prove that I did it and it's repeatable is an interesting prospect. So if we're looking for more work, like if I'm looking to work with a brand in the future, being like, hey, so I did XYZ thing. Do you want that for your brand? Do you want to show that you can engage and grow like this? Well,
yeah,
most brands are gonna be like, yeah, I'd love like 2 million people to see my post. You know,
yeah, that's
and
true.
then maybe they come back for the next one. So I did it as a bit of a social experiment.
It worked.
Yeah.
It kind of worked.
Yeah, and that, and I have nothing, you know, against people that, you know, want more followers, but at the end of the day, like in my mind, it's not that important, right? Like I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like sometimes I go back and I'm like, I know I can get a like a slow-mo video of, I don't know, Amanda Barnhart running towards me, and I put like a trendy song on top of it, like one of the trendy songs on Instagram, and I know that it's gonna, you know, get a couple of like 100,000 views, maybe 1 million or whatever. And I've thought about it, and then I really think about it. I'm like, is it worth it? Because I know I'm not proud of that. In fact, the video that I wasn't like really that that proud. I was just like, this is a random video. Is the video that I have the most views and likes.
Which
And
one
it's
was it?
I think Justin played at the beginning. It's just a quick pan from Linn Bailey to Brooke Ence and Bonnie. And it's I saw it and I was like, I mean, I don't really I don't think I like it, but let's see. And that one got, I mean, what is it? Almost 10,000 likes,
Yeah.
up 100,000 views. And out of all the videos that I've posted, that's definitely the one that I like the least.
And this is, I mean, this is where the kind of the social experiment of everything comes in. Like, yeah, that video has 230,000 views of like, you know, it's unfortunate that your best work isn't cutting through the same way, but that's based on the algorithm. That's not based on it being not quality work on your part.
Yeah. And that's what some people, it's hard for some people to like digest too. They create something that they're so proud of and like they're like, whoa, this is gonna crush it. And then they get, 5,000 views, and that can be hard for some people, like they can think like, what's going on? Like I thought this was good. But as Justin was saying, like the algorithm really favors shorter videos with like trendy audios, kind of like not much involved. And I talk about this with Bennett a lot too. Bennett, I think his best performed video is slow-mo of Rich Froning, just kind of like doing like a sandbag clean or something, like a over the shoulder with the worm. And then he posts a banger video, and then he doesn't really get that many views or
and
like,
this is the problem with Instagram right now. And like the fact that it's as much as it is a portfolio and representation of you, it's not a direct portfolio of your best work. Right.
Yeah.
Like if you pin your post, like your pinned post right now, man, this is some heat right here. Right. Like, you've got some really great stuff, but I mean, I wish you could hear it, but anyways,
oh, so good.
Yeah. But this isn't like, that's pinned because like, these are your best posts, but they're not your best performing posts, but these are just like great work.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, like tier, I mean, because this was for tier, right?
Yeah.
Like, man, I'd be, if I was the point person at tier that hired you, I'd be so thrilled with the return I got on that. I mean, that just, like I said, just gets me so pumped and excited. And that's the thing, right? Like and we can kind of transition to the fact that like you run your own business, and you do more than just CrossFit. And I think we get so absorbed into CrossFit. I know you enjoy CrossFit, but you do weddings. So you're much more than just a CrossFit creator, but you're building a business that, I know people who, like, there's an editor, I Am Childfire. Maybe you guys follow him.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have a huge following, but he's doing these huge projects and making a great living, I'm assuming, off of the work that he's doing. So there's another whole component, which is building something that you have for yourself, that you own, and making a living off of it. Because I'll tell you what, just having a bunch of followers, probably half of which, and I'm just talking about myself, are probably, spam or just whatever accounts, doesn't translate into necessarily building a business. It just doesn't. So yeah, I think in terms of what it all means in the end, it's definitely, I agree with that so much. I watch that video like probably once a day, just so you know. It will get to 1 million views. I just need like
just based on Alex.
Yeah, just need more days. But yeah, it just, at the end of the day, you just have to take it with a grain of salt, I think.
Here, I like this.
I appreciate that.
I like this question here from Alex. What's the most, what do you think you've spent the most time learning as a specific skill over the last 6 months?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Lately, I've been trying to, there's so many things, but the first thing that popped in my mind was I've been trying to really get things right, like overall when it comes to cinematography, just kind of like exposing everything right, trying to make it even easier on me when it comes to like the post-production type of, the post-production part of video editing, just making sure I have, all my footage exposed right, knowing how to really color, how to like just learn pretty much everything that an actual like filmmaker like knows how to do. And somebody asked, I think it was, let me see, I think it was Jordan. He asked something, what's the like something you, oh, I think it was Enrique. Yeah. Enrique,
Yeah.
something you wish you would have learned sooner.
Hmm.
And I think, and I did it pretty soon, but if it's like something I think of that I would have learned sooner, it would probably be how to actually operate my camera, like know exactly what my camera is doing and why it's doing that. Like knowing like why going 1.4 when I'm shooting a video, it's probably not the best idea. And like why if you go, you know, if your aperture's at f4, why would it be better sometimes? Why, what is the, you know, the dual ISO? What is that 180 rule? What
Yeah.
happens if you shoot log at 8-bit? Why do you create some bending? Why, if you're under the 180 rule, you create some type of like messed up motion blur, stuff like that, that it kind of like, I wish that's the first thing I would have done, just kind of like sit down and like, I don't know what it takes. I don't know if it's like just YouTube videos back to back, but the way I kind of started was kind of like winging it. Yeah, Frank says here the technical stuff. And I learned it pretty soon. I feel like after, I don't know, probably like 6 months or a year of like actually shooting, I wasn't doing that many like professional stuff, but I was still shooting pretty consistently. I think at one point I was like, dude, I need to know like what I'm doing, because it's so easy to now, like nowadays, just with the cameras that we have, it's so easy just to like kind of like put everything on auto and it's gonna do a good job. But I feel like the difference, it can make a huge difference if you actually learn the technical stuff. And Task Force Media, that his name is Frank, he's really good at all this stuff, and I've actually learned a lot from him.
Yeah, I don't know any of
And-
those things you just mentioned.
No, I know what you're talking about though. Like learning, no, you know all that stuff.
I know,
you know most of that. But like learning all that, like it's weird, but I've like learned a lot of that stuff from like years of like hearing people on YouTube. Like I consume more YouTube than any other platform. Like I don't watch TV. If I put something on, it's like a YouTube video. So much like, I mean, everything is YouTube, to the point where like I just pay for a YouTube premium subscription because I watch it more than I watch cable.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Yep,
like that's
same.
the best $10 a month I spend or whatever it is. But like I just absorbed that kind of in the background, and then when I actually went to go do some of it, I was like, oh yeah, I got to do this. And like I don't know where I heard it from. It wasn't like a make sure you do this. It was just like, oh yeah, this makes sense to do here. But you're right. I would so much rather learn more of the technical aspect of things than anything else. Like I wish I knew what my camera was doing more sometimes, because like on the fly right now, like some days I'm like, I just have to change it back to like different picture profiles or whatever, just because like I just need this to be right now and I can't mess this up. So I've had that happen a couple of times where
And
not
I
as
feel
much anymore, but
yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like that also, whenever you look at some of the creators, whenever you see their stuff and you're like, dude, why is this so good? Like what are they doing different? I feel like just the technical stuff might be a little better, you know, like the way the motion blur of a video, just like how cinematic it can look, it's all in your settings. You know, I can tell right away when somebody posts something and their shutter speed is jacked up. Whenever they have it like way higher and they're not using an ND, I can catch it real quick.
oh yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you know, you can see the motion blur, and I see it like right away. And that's something that makes a huge difference. Sometimes you watch some videos and you're like, dude, this looks super cinematic, like everything flows so well. And I feel like that's one of the main reasons is what it's because they know exactly what they're doing with their camera, their settings, the post-production part of it too, obviously, because you need to learn how to, you know, color grade all your stuff and make sure everything's exposed like a, you know, right way throughout the video. You don't want to have a video that's overexposed and then going into an underexposed. That's going to throw away real quick the audience.
Do you when you're shooting, do you shoot with a matte box for your NDs versus like an on camera or like an on lens
Yeah.
ND,
So
right?
what's it called, granite. For granite, I use a matte box. It has like a variable ND on the matte box, which is crazy because usually I will have a couple of like the ones that it's like 2 stops to 5 stops, 5 to I think it's 6 to 9 stops. Those are the two that I have. But I got the Tilta Mirage matte box, and I don't know how many stops exactly it has, but it covers pretty much what 2 different NDs will cover. And I figured for something like Grand, it will be a lot better just to have that much range
Yeah.
with a variable ND. But yeah, usually Madbox comes with like different ones, like different stops already set, and then with the settings you kind of like adjust it. But with that one specifically, it's a variable ND. Yep, the
Nice.
Task Force Media mentioned the name of the
Tilt Mirage.
Tilt the
yeah.
mirage back.
And another thing that I feel like it makes a difference too is I manual focus all my video stuff, and that just gives you like a little edge on like creativity that you can do. If you watch some of my videos, you see how I can focus from one object to something real quick. And obviously it's not like most of the times like you mess it up because it's hard to get it right exactly, but manual focusing gives you like an extra edge of like creativity. And at the same time it can help you miss less shots if you get real experience at it, because I mean if you have an athlete running this way, right?
Yeah,
You
the
see,
autofocus will
and then
grab something else.
somebody else runs this way, you're gonna end up getting this person. And sometimes it looks so cool whenever the subject that you have on focus, like it's moving and everything else is moving around and it's out of focus. Like there is a couple of videos of Amanda doing like muscle up, and you see like a bunch of stuff happening, like people doing like GHD sit up, and it's always going to be focused on Amanda because of manual focusing all my footage. But at the same time, I guess that's preference. I know cinema lenses, stuff like that, and it's all manual focused, so I try to be as old school when it comes to that as possible.
Now with like this work, like the CrossFit's fast moving lot. I mean, it's predictable though, because you know where somebody is going to be. Do you find that you're always manual focus, or do you find that you go more to auto, or do you flip it to autofocus when you're doing these events?
For granted, I used manual focus the whole time. It was all that footage, and sometimes you can see it. I kind of lost focus every once in a while. There's a clip of Travis like pushing the sled, and it's a little soft, but I really like how the sweat kind of like dropped.
Yeah.
And it was still to the point that I was sharp enough that I can use the clip. But so that's kind of like one of the downsides of it. You can get some stuff that might be a little soft. But
are
yeah.
you oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh, are you like, do you go out with agenda in terms of like the B-roll that you're shooting? Because I think B-roll, we talked a lot about this at Granite, you, me, and Christian, about making sure you have enough B-roll, the hands, chalk, gripping things that are not, it's not just the whole person in the frame doing a workout, people clapping and things like that. So do you have like a hit list? And then my other question is, what are you shooting everything in a certain frame rate and then just playing it back on a 24 timeline to get sort of that cinematic effect? Or what's your most commonly recorded frame rate in camera? And then what are you outputting it into, if you don't mind giving up?
Yeah, no, those are two good questions. The first one, dude, yeah, we were talking about it with Christian. I just try to get as much B-roll of like random stuff as possible.
Yeah.
People screaming, people like, I've gotten a couple of people crying like whenever they're finishing, and just like hands in the chalk bucket, stuff like that. And that just kind of adds to the experience of the people watching, right? Like whenever they see somebody like chucking their hands or like grabbing the rings, and it kind of adds to the video a little more. But I don't really have like a list. It's just kind of like what I'm feeling I'm gonna get. I do try to get like the hands and the chalk bucket and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's like whatever it's happening at the moment, you're like, oh, look, that's happening. Like, let me try to get it.
Yeah.
And for the second question, yeah, the frame rate. Usually I shoot everything in 60 frames per second when it comes to CrossFit because I'm gonna be slowing down some of the stuff. But if I'm not gonna slow down anything, it's gonna be 24 frames per second. My timeline is always at 24. So if I shoot at 60, I know I can slow it down 40%. And that's gonna give me a perfect motion blur when it comes to a 24 frames per second timeline. For granted, I think I shot everything in 60 just to make sure I had like some stuff that I wanted to slow mo. Did I think the only stuff that I didn't shoot in 60 was the after they were done. I switched it back to 24 whenever they were like announcing like the podium and like who finished top 5. I went to 24, but when it's in action, I was shooting everything in 60.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I think 120 is probably abused in our industry.
And
at this
I've
point.
thought about it too.
I do
feel
it too.
like sometimes I'm like, should I shoot in 120? But I feel for the kind of stuff that I'm doing, it doesn't really. That might be a little too slow for like when I slow mo it.
I think it depends on the shot too, and it
Yeah,
depends
it
on what
depends
you're
on your
looking
style.
for.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I will say that I'll shoot stuff in 120 specifically so that I know like this is going to be a single shot that's going to go on Instagram. I shoot it vertical, like I turn my camera, shoot vertical, 120, and line it up the way I want to line it up. Just because like I know that shot is going to play well for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you guys feel about this, but lately, like, and I mean, it's a little annoying because of the way it lays out, but I will use my photo work as my cover images and that's my way to show off my photo work because everything is so predominantly video now that like I use these single shots and these shorter clips to show off my photo work on my page so that it lives there, but then I get the engagement through the video.
I do the same. I've never really used cover images until recently.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just found like that they're crispier and they look better in the, on your profile page.
Yeah.
So I started using them. I didn't really know that was a thing, but yeah, I haven't posted just a photo in a while. I've been posting reels. Now I post a lot of my like image sequence stuff, which are all photos, but it's still playing back as a video. But yeah, Carlos, what do you do?
Well, when I, for example, like granted, when I shoot stuff like that, I either do video or photo. So I don't really have a choice to put like a cool photo. I was thinking about it though. When I was posting those videos, I'm like, dang, I wish I had like a cool photo of like Amanda or Travis that I can like post because it's kind of hard to get like a good frame out of the video that's gonna look like sharp. And so yeah, definitely, I think. And the brands are doing that too. Whenever you see the videos that I made for Tier on the Tier's page, they're gonna have a photo. I think by probably Corey, that was the one shooting photo for them.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's it is weird the way that everything's trending with reels. I was such a photo person, and like to Justin's point, just have to kind of chase the tail a little bit and figure out what's going to perform and what people are going to engage with. But I just went back and looked. I'm like, yeah, man, I haven't posted just like a picture. I'm honestly scared to just post a photo, which is ridiculous to think. But I'm like, if I post a picture, is it going to get like 30 likes, or are people going to be like, what is this static thing? Why is this not moving? This is weird.
I don't think it's the people. I think it's the like Instagram itself.
Yeah.
That was like, I don't care for this photo.
We're
But
not
then
gonna
there's
show
weird
it.
things that have been happening recently where like, I don't know about if you guys have noticed this on Instagram, but like, let's say I don't like somebody's photo for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I wasn't paying attention. Maybe I didn't just like it, but like I'll see that photo for days. Like it'll recirculate people's photos.
Yeah. Or I won't see your stuff, Justin, for some reason, or like algorithm wise, like I'll see it. It'll say like posted 2 days ago, and that could have just been me missing it. But, or when I refreshed my thing, my feed, but yeah, I'm like, this is weird because anytime you guys post stuff, I want to like it because I like it. And sometimes I don't see it for a few days. And it's just such a mind fuck because then, I think people think, oh, this guy doesn't like my pictures. What the hell? There's just so much that goes into it. Just
Yeah.
mentally. And the most sickening thing about it is like, they know, like the little Instagram people in the back they're working this all up, right? We're running around in the wheel.
It kind of makes sense in my mind why are doing it. Obviously TikTok, it's you know, like most of the younger generation, it's trying to, you know, make TikToks and stuff like that. So that's kind of like Instagram's way of saying like, hey, we can do this here on the platform too.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why it's like getting so much like traction and engagements, because that gives you that hit of like, oh yeah, I'm getting a bunch of views. I'm definitely gonna keep posting on Instagram instead of TikTok. And same thing, like they got Snapchat out of the game too. Whenever they start posting the stories, I remember the first time Instagram came up with the stories, I was like, oh, this is dumb. Like I like Snapchat a lot better. You know, like Snapchat's where it's at. And then in a span of like, I don't know, a year, I wasn't using Snapchat anymore. It was all Instagram. So I feel like they're going for the same thing with TikTok.
And they're going hard for it right now too. Like they're doing it like a lot of the same kind of principles of content, like gaining legs and circulating for longer periods of time. Recommended feeds, things like that. Like it's, I mean, they're sneaky about it because it filters into your main feed. You don't have to go to a separate feed. Like on TikTok, you'll see a For You, and then there's the following pages. But for Instagram, it's like every third post is something you're not following. Every third post is an ad.
Yeah,
like
whatever
it's
sneaky. It says like suggested, and you'll see something like, I don't follow this. And then it's like this tiny little font. It's like the stuff nobody reads at the bottom of like a contract, like the disclaimer font almost. Yeah, it's weird and wild. And I think I mean, this is total conjecture, but I think that Instagram, and this goes kind of off of what Justin was saying, like I think they withhold likes so that when you like refresh your feed, you get like this dopamine hit. Like they say, oh, 50 people liked your picture since you came back, or then 100 people, even though those 100 happened over the course of a while. Like I think they selectively hold off, and the notifications are even delivered to the user in a way that makes them feel good about themselves. Like it's a psychological thing. Otherwise, you'd probably every time, if you're on Instagram for a while, you'd see like 1, 2, 3, 4 likes, 5 likes, because they come in at different times, right? But no, every time I'm in there, it's like 50 or 100 or like 300 people, and I think they hold it, and then they dump it on you, and you're like, oh wow, look at me, I'm so great. Just a theory.
I think it's registered. I just think that you don't see it because it has it's like the way it refreshes, so it's not constantly like popping up. That might just be what I'm thinking about. But like I know what you mean, but I don't think it's intentional in that way to give you that hit.
I do.
I think it's just like hey, maybe it is. Maybe it is.
I just don't want to be wrong. That's all. No, but yeah. So Carlos, a couple of like little rapid fire things I like to ask people. Favorite lens, favorite go-to lens that you use more than any other lens if you're rigged up. I know.
Video.
Let's do photo first and then video.
Okay, so photo, I think the lens I've been using the most is an 85 1.4 Sigma Art.
I got that.
Just I use it a lot for weddings too, family shoots and stuff like that.
Okay, video.
If it's CrossFit 70-200, the new one, the Gym Master version 2, I think it's freaking dope. 24-70 if I'm mostly just shooting more of like a product type of deal. But yeah, and the 24-70 that I have is a Sigma Art.
Okay. Editing software. What do you edit in? And that could be like maybe you grade in something and then you edit in something else. But
yeah, Final Cut Pro X since about 2020. I used to use Premiere until it was crashing all the time, and I posted something on my Facebook. One of my buddies called me. He's like, "Dude, you have Mac, right?" I'm like, "Yep." It's like, try Final Cut Pro. You're gonna like it, and it's it's kind of like an easy transition because I started learning using iMovie, so I was familiar with it. I used to color grade using it was a third party software called Cinema Grade. That's what I used to use in the past. Now I feel very comfortable with whatever it's included in Final Cut Pro, even though it's like it can be a little more basic. But
Yeah.
if it's something that I'm just kind of like trying to get done on like a fast, for example, like a granite, I just use what's included in Final Cut Pro. I kind of like do a lot of like the curves, and I really learned how to like get the most out of it. But cinema grade too sometimes.
The reason I don't like, one of the drawbacks I think of Final Cut is the export settings,
Yeah.
because in Premiere you can select like a constant bit rate, you can
Mm.
drag it down,
Yeah.
you can, which will reduce the overall file size of, and then you can avoid some compression when you go to upload it. And maybe I just don't know how to do that in Final Cut, but it just seems like they don't have as many export options.
And I know you said rapid fire. I'm taking a while to answer. Sorry.
No,
No,
these are,
you're
that's
good.
fine.
You're
That's
good.
fine. That's fine. No, those are all good. Do you have, well, we already kind of covered the ND thing. What type of camera do you shoot on? I don't think we talked about that.
Sony.
Sony?
Yeah, I have
Sony
A7
gang.
A7 IV for photos. I have 2 of those, and for video, I use an A7S III.
Okay.
Nice.
Man, I'm the only person using Canon.
Don't worry about it.
I knew you were. Just don't say the N word.
Yeah.
Oh, I only know one person who uses.
Yeah.
Don't say the brand.
Yeah, we got some good questions here. So let's hit the comments here, rapid fire these guys. So first one, do you prioritize video on TikTok first, then post to Instagram?
I'm a terrible person to ask that, because I have TikTok. I've never I think I posted one video and I deleted it. I
Yeah,
don't really use it, but
I don't have TikTok.
I think sometimes I go back and I'm like, gosh, I have to start, because that's where some people are using it. But
So I'm the opposite, where like my TikTok grew fast after Wadapalooza, and then I've reeled it back to prioritize Instagram, because I just don't have time to do both in that same way.
Yeah.
Because of the way I edit. Sometimes it just takes more time, and I haven't been bothered to use TikTok in the last little bit.
Yeah, I don't even have the app. I have an account, but I deleted the app because I was spending
yeah,
way too much time on it. That's just scrolling other people's stuff.
Yeah,
I try not to use it.
Yeah.
Next one. Do you think it matters who you know in the CrossFit community helps with making a name for yourself? Who wants to start?
I think the answer is absolutely. It really helps who you know and the relationships that you make. And I think in everything, it doesn't have to be in the CrossFit community. In every community, every industry, the way that you make people feel personally, like the way you interact with a client, with a future client, or even with other creators, what's gonna like give you that extra step, that extra edge. I feel like some of the reasons why I get some of my clients is because I feel like I'm a very personal person. Like I make people feel comfortable when I'm with them, especially like clients. And I'm very extroverted too. I don't know if that might help sometimes. Sometimes it might, it might not be the best thing. But dude, I think it's so important just to be kind to people and like make them feel good. Like even if it's I feel like one of the things I've been working on is try to approach every gig as is the same. It doesn't matter if it's a $5,000 project or it's a family photo that I'm gonna make $250. It's kind of like you gotta approach that specific job with the same energy and the same, like drive of like, I want to crush it, because you never know what's going to happen. That $150, 200, 400 shoot might end up being something a lot bigger. You might be taking photos for somebody that's the CEO of a huge company. You have no clue, right? And you bring that energy, and then the dude is like, dude, I freaking love the way like you operate and like how comfortable you made us feel. Like, do you do any type of like video production? Like, you never know, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, just try to, I think it really helps who you know, because obviously connections is everything. That's how I've gotten most of my gigs. I got my gig with Mayhem, with TYR, just because people that I knew and that recommended me.
I'm gonna take a different spin on this, and I think it just comes back to, and like what you said, is be a good person and treat everybody with the same level of respect and be a good person in general, and you'll make good connections within the community. I don't think it matters so much who you know within the community itself. I mean, within regards to like top athletes and things like that. Like you didn't, Alex, I know you didn't start off like working with top athletes and working with people who were at like a high level. And I think that the way you've gone about it, Alex, and like I know your story a little bit better, so because you randomly came out and introduced yourself to me at the games while I was working, and I was like, nobody knows who the hell I am here. And Alex like, hey man, like I know your work, I love your work. And he came up to me and introduced himself, and he was just a good dude, and we've stayed in contact really ever since. And that was less than a year ago, right? Like,
Wow,
I don't think
that's
it
true.
matters the athletes who you know, right? When you showed up to Rogue, you didn't know who, you've never met, let's just say Sam Briggs in person.
Yeah.
You know, but you've had good connections. You made a good relationship with her, and then you ended up working with her for that event. I don't think it matters in that same way of like, oh, like I have a bit of a different relationship because I knew Pat, you know, he trained at my gym, but like I kind of built myself up to be able to feel like I was comfortable to work with him in that way. So I don't think it necessarily means that like because I knew Pat, I got all these jobs or anything like that. No, but it was being a good person, working hard, and all those types of things. And people started to recognize my work. People started to recognize what I was doing, and that's the kind of connection that was made, and it allowed me to have more opportunities within the space.
I think it's a combination. I'll take like the cop out. I think it's a combination of doing good work and who you know. And that's it. And like you put those two together. Like if I knew Rich Froning, but I did a crap job, it doesn't matter that I know Rich. Rich isn't he's not gonna refer me to people and things of that nature, right? So I really do think it is about it is a little bit about who you know, but it's also about pairing that up with the quality of work that you do, and together that will take you places. Just because you know somebody won't take you places, just because you do great work in, you know, your basement, it's not going to take you places. But put those two together and have an opportunity, and I think that will take you places.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely a combination. Olivia mentions that not a lot of people know who she is. And I mean, let's be honest, like we all started there. Like when I showed up to the 2019 CrossFit Games, nobody knew who I was. Like I mean, to be honest, like I was there and I felt like very out of place. Like I felt like everybody knew what they were doing a lot more than me. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that because we'll start somewhere, right? And we'll start in a point that nobody knows who you are. And that's when that's when putting in the work, it's gonna like make a difference. Like people always ask me like, hey, you know, like what do you do to like get more recognized in the industry? Just kind of like what we said already, like just be kind to people. Wait, somebody's called me. Be kind to people, like introduce yourself to all the content creators that you enjoy their content. Just be like, hey, you know, like Alex, I've seen your stuff. Like I love what you do. And then if you have any questions, just ask them questions and then just keep working hard. And then from there, it kind of like, for me, kind of like snowball into like opportunities because I was like, you know, so interested in like knowing, you know, recommendations from other people. And then they were like, oh, this dude is getting better what he's doing. And if the opportunity is there, like, you know, so, but we all start there. Like,
yeah,
I don't think any of us showed up to a competition that were like, oh yeah, I know who this guy is. Kind of like we all started.
Exactly. Here, one more from Carly, and then
Cool.
There we go. What things in your past have shaped the way you see things now as a human and as a creator? This is deep, Carly. I hope you're still on this.
That's because she was probably doing her morning ritual, and I know she likes to journal, and I'm not knocking that, but she was probably in that deep thought area, and then she hit us with this.
Now you're making us think, Carly.
Oh boy, probably failure. I would say failure.
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
100%.
I fail a lot at a lot of different things, and it's the only way I get better at anything, whether it's being like as a human being and failing in relationships or failing at a task. Like that's the only way I learn. If I avoid failure, I don't get better. I just don't, because I don't learn from anything. I don't go and evaluate what caused me to fail and do some introspection and then apply that moving forward. So I would say failure for me.
I'm gonna double down on your sentiment there and go back to the dreams thing. I had this dream about what I see as like one of the biggest failures in my life and how it kind of changed my perspective on things. That was like one of my first like big failures. And I had a weird dream about it last night. And I like never have dreams I can remember, but I very vividly remember this. So I'm gonna double down and I'm gonna say one more thing about failure. And I think it's Pixar. You guys know Pixar, the film company. I believe it's in their front lobby. When you walk into their headquarters, they have a big mural that just says "Fail faster."
Wow, I like that.
I like
that a lot. Yeah, if you postpone the failure, you're not going to get better until you fail. So you might as well like bring on the failure. Failure is good. There's way too much, I think, in life in general, of people, being coddled and everybody, even like everybody getting a trophy. There's no losers. Like there's something to be said for losing out on the contract, losing out in a situation. Like it's okay to lose. I think when you lose, when you fail, you become a better person. Maybe not always, it's not guaranteed, but it opens the door for you to improve. It does. Whether you choose to walk through that door, that's entirely up to the individual. But failure and losing and those types of things are valuable in the grand scheme of life. Oh, no, I can't.
Yeah.
For me, you're banned from the show.
Ban that guy that said icon. He's such a good dude. For me, dang, I can go really deep with this answer because it just brings like memories or people in my life growing up that kind of like helped me shape the person who I am today. And I think it goes back to my parents, my dad, like just the way I feel like every time I think about him, it just kind of like it brings me back memories, that stuff that I learned from him. And he's the person that also introduced me to playing golf. And golf also taught me a lot when it comes to like honesty and like meeting new people and like like the relationships I've built over my life. But yeah, I feel like people have really shaped the way I am, and it can be people that have done something to me in a negative way. It helps me just be a stronger person. And mostly people have done something positive in my life that's definitely shaped me to the person I am today. As a creator, I mean, same thing that you guys were saying, just failure, right? Like everything's a learning experience, and I think failing is the fastest way to learn something, and knowing like it's not gonna happen again. I've failed countless times, like everybody else that's watching this. But yeah, just kind of like, dang, I you guys got me thinking about my dad, and I think he's like the number one reason why I'm so like motivated and like driven to accomplish things, and why I always want to try something new. It's just like the way that he taught me how to approach life. That'll be probably my answer.
I love that. Well, awesome. Hey, I think it's I don't even know how long we've been going here. It's got to be over an hour, right? I haven't looked.
Almost hour.
20. Well, Carlos, I just want to say thanks. This was a lot of fun. The hopping on with the both of you. I'm excited to see you both in a couple of weeks in Madison, and I think I'll just leave us with life is not short in years, but in time spent together. So I think it's always exciting to see friends and fellow creators at these events, because that's where I get the opportunities to see you all. So excited, happy to have you both as colleagues. We were happy to dive deep into your life, Carlos, today, and learn a little bit more about you. So thank you so much for inviting us and doing this collaborative podcast, and look forward to seeing you fellas in a couple of weeks. It's gonna be great.
No, awesome. Thank you both for making this happen. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but I'm really glad this happened. And I also look up to both of you guys as not only as like good people, good friends, but also creators, and I think it's cool that we can do stuff like this, right? And just looking at the comments, we have, you know, Frank, Olivia, Teddy, Enrique, Jordan, Carly, everybody that's been like posting comments and, you know, send DM stuff like that. Like in reality, that's why we do this, right? Like we're not profiting out of any of this kind of stuff, but it's cool to connect with people, to learn. I learned, dude. I'm 19 episodes in, and I've learned so many things that I never thought. Like, you know, every conversation I have with a creator just kind of like brings me a new perspective in life, or something new that I can kind of like attract into my, not only my life as a person, but also as a content creator. And also like the that what we were talking earlier, like people saying like, hey, thank you so much, like because of your podcast, because of having like Alex and Justin on your podcast, like I learned some things that are really going to help me moving forward as a creator. And that just, dude, it means the world to me to know that it might be like, obviously, like we're not world famous like a Peter McKinnon, but it means the world to me to know that we can at least make some difference and help people, at least, you know, in our little industry.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. All right. We gotta do this again sometime. This would be fun.
Yeah,
this
for sure.
a quarterly thing, meeting of the minds. So
right. Thank you
all
so
right.
much, guys.
Yeah. Thanks,
Awesome,
Carlos.
guys.
We'll see you both soon.